Let's get oral.
Hey, welcome back to Let's Get Oral. Camille and I are here for another fun and exciting episode and conversation. Today, we are fortunate to be sitting down with Dr. Julia Jackson. She is a specialist in oral and maxillofacial surgery who did her dental training at the Howard University in DC and also followed up and did her residency and rotations at Georgetown, in addition to the VA clinic, amongst many spaces. I believe, Dr. Jackson, you're on the East Coast, correct?
I am in Virginia, Annandale, Virginia, and we call it sweater weather over here. But I'm originally from Philadelphia, so New Jersey's my neighbor. And I actually went to college in Connecticut, where there was more trees than people, and autumn was always a beautiful time of the year, always a good time for changes, new semesters, new thoughts, new transitions. After I finished Connecticut at Wesleyan University, I was a psychology major, and I attended Temple University School of Dentistry. I came back home to Philadelphia, and then eventually I ended up in New York, which is Brooklyn, New York, for 2 years of oral surgery training. And finally at Howard University in Washington, D.C., for additional 4 years of training. So it was a total of 6 as to become an oral surgeon, oral and maxillofacial surgeon. We help patients from the cranium to the clavicles. So anything from the head and neck region and a whole variety of procedures in between. Let's get oral.
So first, one of the first questions I like to dive into with guests like yourself, it's one thing to say the word specialist, but I think, getting behind the curtain, it's always fascinating to really learn about your respective journey in terms of becoming an oral maxillofacial surgeon. Like, was there any particular life experiences, something inspiring or motivating, or was it something by chance that caught your eye later in life? We'd love to definitely hear.
Mm-hmm. I've always liked to work with my hands. I like to fix things. I like to make things, put things together. I have a puzzle I'm still working on in the living room now because, I realize you do the frame first, and then you try to strategically organize the pieces based on color. So once you get organized, you can kind of see, oh yeah, I know where that goes because I saw where it goes on the frame. So I always like to put stuff together, fix things. My dad was an electrical engineer and an inventor, and my mom went in the direction of law and furthered her career to become a judge. And she was like, you're not a very good writer, Julia. You should find something else to do. Be more creative. So my dad, he has a tennis partner, and his tennis partner was an oral and maxillofacial surgeon named Dr. Franklin Scott in Philadelphia. And so we kind of knew the lifestyle of an oral surgeon. We knew that Dr. Scott was a staple in the community. We know that Dr. Scott was physically active and fun to be around. We knew that he drove a really nice car. So, all the pieces came together like, wow, that would be nice to at least have someone to kind of think of as a role model or to consider in the future. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was exposed to other professions, but Dr. Scott really showed me what it meant to be an oral surgeon because as a youngster, he took out my wisdom teeth. So I got a chance to see his practice. That's kind of your first experience as a youngster to know what are your dental exposures. In addition to having my wisdom teeth removed, well, I also had braces. So now I'm seeing what an orthodontist is. And, secretly they're wire benders. I was like, we're not bending wires here. I don't know way. Okay. So, and then also being in pediatrics. So you can see kind of what does it mean to be a pediatric dentist. Some people don't even realize that there's 7, if not more, different kinds of dentists, actually. General dentists, I kind of think of as like the coach in a football game. They're calling the plays. If there's something that they can't manage, well, then they'll send in special teams. Okay, we'll send in a orthodontist because you need to have something corrected with regards to space or or crowding, or maybe they'll send in special teams. Oh, this is a tooth that needs to be evaluated for a root canal. So they'll send in the endodontist. Or further, they'll say, oh, you know what? Your gingiva or the gums are not healthy. Maybe we'll send you over to a periodontist to clean under the gums to remove any excess bacteria or excess buildup. The pinnacle of oral and maxillofacial surgery. So I'll tell you, they say oral surgeons have a big ego, but I will not admit to that. All right. But the pinnacle of dentistry is oral and maxillofacial surgery. And we are the ones that pretty much save the folks if there's something that they just can't get it. There's something, if an orthodontist has a tooth that can't be moved, they'll send it to the oral surgeon. It's a tooth that's impacted. Okay, well, we'll take it out. Or if a periodontist has a tooth that's hopeless, it's moving, it's blowing in the wind. There's nothing structurally holding it together. Okay, send it to the oral surgeon, and quite frankly, maybe we'll take out more than one tooth. Or if it's a root canal tooth, okay, they tried and they obturated the canal. They tried to take the nerve out of the tooth and they perfed. Perf means now they've gone outside the confines of the tooth. Send it to the oral surgeon. So, our heads get big because we are secretly the ones that save the day. I used to hum. That's Mighty Mouse. Okay, here I come to save the day.
That's amazing.
I just walk in the room. They didn't know me. I don't really know them. I'm getting to know them, and I'm like, okay, what's the complication today? So, Dr. Scott, he just really emphasized that there was a lot of options in dentistry, and my exposure with him gave me some wherewithal that I didn't really know about. I don't even think everybody knows. They all think that general dentists should take teeth out. Even my husband was like, what's an oral surgeon? Oh, you'll find out. You'll find out. So then I finished up college. And so in college, I was a psychology major. And I took the pre-med prerequisites. So you asked me, what's my path? I'll tell you, the first hurdle was when you are in high school or even in college, and they tell you that you have to be a biology major to become a doctor. It's almost like there's no other option. And if you don't major in biology, then you can major in the hard stuff like chemistry. And I'm like, oh, jeez. Organic chemistry. And I'm slightly a rebel. So I was like, no, I'm going to major in psychology. My mom's like, psychology? What are you going to do with that? But I figured it out like a puzzle. I majored in psychology and I took my pre-med prerequisites. That means I took my biology, I took my chemistry, I took my orgo. I actually took biology as a coastal ecology student. I remember going into the study abroad office at Wesleyan University. This is probably like third year of college. And the lady was talking to me and she's like, this is not a vacation. I said, what do you mean? I didn't think of it as a vacation. She goes, you're going to study. I said, okay, so what are the options? You can go to Russia. You can go to Japan. You can go, I forget the other ones. So I say, I'm going to the beach. She says, this is not a vacation. I went to Baja, California, Mexico. I was a coastal ecology student. We lived on the beach. We had like cabins on the sand. I mean, literally on stilts on the sand. And I learned Spanish. I was complete immersion. We would go out in the very early in the morning, like 4 a.m, and we'd go out fishing and crabbing and shrimping. And we were like collecting sediment samples. My research was to get sediment samples. This will get you. I was to collect benthic invertebrates, which are these little tiny microorganisms. And if I would collect the sand and look through a microscope to see how many little organisms were alive, then it would be able to, in the research, we could say, okay, well, if there's enough microorganisms, well, then there would be enough crustaceans to eat them. There would be enough fish to eat the crustaceans. There'd be enough birds to eat the fish. There'd be enough, now we're up to the pelicans. And that's how I studied coastal ecology. It was environmental ecology. So, if I can find a way to be on the beach to take the sand sediments, I just fulfilled my biology requirement that way and my Spanish requirement. But I also got my pre-med prerequisites. So now my mom says, well, with this psychology degree, you're going to need to go on to become a PhD. I said, oh no, that sounds like a lot of school, Mom. That sounds like that road sounds like it's going to be a long road. I say, what do you have to do to be a PhD? Well, first you have to get a master's. Oh, a master's degree. Now, I found out that from my university, Wesleyan University, if I finished the 4 years, I could take one more year and get a master's degree and then the PhD. My dad was like in the other part of the house and he's like, yeah, you should go to dental school. Go to dental school. I was like, dental school? Absolutely not. Like between the two of them, I'm like, what are y'all talking about? And he was actually a little harder to my brother. And he was kind of bullying him a little bit. I'll be real honest. And my dad was like, you got to go to dental school. You got to go to dental school. Be like Dr. Scott. Go to dental school. Now, my brother would never in his life look in anyone's mouth, like ever. You would have to not just pay him, but he would never think. Though he would be concerned about the breath. He would never even. No way. But what am I looking for in someone's mouth? Like I could just see my brother going, like he would like shrivel up and want to like, not, never. So I'm like, okay, so. All right, I'll see what I can do. So, make long story short, because this is like that was 25 years ago. I got into the master's program for psychology, and I was going to be an intern at a mental facility. And I was kind of excited about that because I can talk to crazy people. Easy, I could talk to crazy people. And so I was like, okay, I got into the master's degree program, and as a fluke, I got into the dental school program. And we see how this worked out. Okay. I could have rolled the dice and picked either one. I got into dental school. And I will be very honest with you. I thought that it was the worst experience of my entire life. I was depressed. I was very skinny. My hair was falling out, or maybe it was just short, didn't look very good. I was unhappy. I was miserable. I was uncomfortable because I felt like I was in an environment that was not nurturing in any way, especially coming from Wesleyan where everybody was it was diversity university. Everybody's friendly, happy-go-lucky. People are energetic, good sunshine, good vibes. I could have died at dental school. And the first year I thought, why did I do this? I think it really was the overwhelming portion of the sciences. That's why I admire you two so much. That microbiology, I was out of my league. I couldn't think about microbes. It was my brain doesn't function on microbes. I couldn't read it enough. I didn't know what the TS, I think it's TC cycle, some cycle about activity. I was like, I can't. I was so upset with the decision. And
I have to say, like, you were counting microbes essentially.
Oh,
macrobes.
Oh, I was crying. I was upset. And I lived in an apartment that my mother grew up. So they still had the house that her parents owned for a million years ago, right? And that house was what we called the big house because the big house had servant quarters. So the servant quarters was this apartment that I lived in. And it was a nice place. It had a skylight in the bathroom. So there was perks to living in this kind of off the beaten path house.
Sorry,
You
this
guys,
was in Philly, right?
yeah, you might not know Philly. Philly is
I
a
do.
very interesting place. This is like right in North Philadelphia, and I
Yeah.
mean there was all kinds of riffraff on the street, but I was in my small space. It was kind of like a gated community in that house. Um, and then I would go over to North Philly to go to Temple Dental. So you'd see people laying on the street. It was rough. It was rough. And then when you get there, I was one of few African American females in my class. I won't say only, but few, and certainly wasn't like no one knew that no one thought that you could do it. There was never a. It was almost like, and I think you might know this, you look to your left and you look to your right, and both of those people are not going to survive, right? So that you're sitting in the middle, like, well, what's that mean? And they look to my, and
Yeah.
so am I going to be the one who's out? So, I got a D. I got more than one D in whatever course. There was pathology, there was anesthesia, there was pharmacology. There was that was the whole first and second year. And I don't know how I got out of that. I don't know how I did it, but I did it. I studied. You had to choose if you were going to eat, sleep, or study, and that's it. And sometimes I didn't eat, and a lot of times I didn't sleep. So there wasn't like that many options to survive. It was survival. And I'm not a quitter, because my mom used to have on the kitchen, quitters never win and winners never quit. So I was like, okay, that's it. So slightly the ego was budding, like, this is going to break me, or I'm going to be there. I'm going to finish this. I know I'm going to do it somehow, however I'm going to do it. So now we're in third year. Third year was the first year that they allowed us to treat the patients. And I'm glad I got to the third year, quite frankly, because we didn't have half of the folks that we started with. Third year,
My
they told
goodness.
us, yeah, really, I'm
I didn't
serious.
know it had that kind of
Oh,
attrition rate. Gee.
horrible. Not just competitive to get in, but competitive to get out. And then there would be these kind of cocky guys who'd say, oh, yes, I'm going to get a master's degree while I'm in dental school. Huh,
Yep.
good
Yep.
luck. I will pray for you, and good luck, because you're better than me. I don't, and so now we're in third year, right? Third year is when we actually got to treat the patients. And so I distinctly, you asked me, well, is there some kind of do you remember something specific? I think it is the beginnings that I remember, because those were such challenging starts.
Informative, right?
Oh, those were very formative. I remember seeing all the tools, and I loved the tools. I loved the oral surgery tools. There was a little bit of this, there was something sharp, there was something dull, there was some smooth, there were long ones. I was like, whoa, little tiny instruments. The tools. It's the tools, man. They got me on the tools. And it's not the
That's
wire bending
hysterical.
tools, like pliers. I know pliers. It was like, just things that were creative, chisels and hammers. I use chisels and hammers to remove bone under the tongue. I'm like, any day, you give me, I can do it. So now we're in this room, and they're telling me I need to take a tooth out. And I was like, well, which one? And they said the one on the top left. And I said, all right, I'll do it. And the patient was nervous. That's the first thing you have to remember. You have to remember that the tooth is attached to a person. It's
But you
not.
have a psychology degree, right?
Oh, you have to. You have to. And you have to figure out who that person is. You have to know their name, and you have to reference their name, Camille. You have to say, hello, good morning. I know you. You're going to get to know me. We're going to take our time to do this. I understand that you're nervous. I understand that you didn't have your coffee this morning, or I understand that you had traffic before you got here and you were rushing, and that's why you're perspiring, not that you're nervous. You have to really get into the psyche of who that tooth is attached to. It's not even the complication of, oh, you mean the tooth that's on the top right that's behind the other tooth that could make that one break when we try to get it out because it has a crown on it. Forget that. You got to get to know this guy who doesn't want to open his mouth
Mm.
because he doesn't want to see a needle. And the needle is not even the part, that's not even the tricky part. Once you get past the needle, no trouble. So, make a long story short, I think I fell completely in love. It's not a think. I fell completely in love when I took my first tooth out. That was it. I said I want to do this every single day for the rest of my life. Of course,
Wow.
my mother was like, why? Don't you want to fix them? No, I'm not fixing teeth. I'm not cleaning teeth. I don't want any secretions spilling on me. I don't want any blood. No, I'm not doing any of this. But if I can get a tooth and take it out and ever so gently, kind of literally like a ballerina, tiptoe around the tooth, I could take a tooth out and you don't even know it, honestly. Sometimes the patient falls asleep. I'll put music on and not sedation. I'm talking about just the gentle care that's placed after I have established a relationship with that person. Secretly, in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm never going to see them again. See, oral and maxillofacial surgeons, we're short term relationships. I take your tooth out, I will never see you again. I might see you in the supermarket, but that's it. The tooth is out. General dentists, they establish this lifelong relationship.
Mm.
I heard you saying the other day, they get to know the person over a series of times. And you were right. You will see your general dentist more often than you will see your physician. You should. You should see your general dentist every 6 months. Get to know everybody in the office, the hygienist, the front desk lady. How much is this going to cost? Who's running my insurance? But the oral surgeon, you walk in, I'm done. I can take a tooth out in less than 5 minutes. We numb it up, we loosen the tooth, take it out. The patients are going, that's it? I paid $9,000 and that's it? Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. You paid for the 16 years that it took me to get here because that's how I can manage to take this tooth out. And you say to me, that's it. Because if I was in there for 3 hours and your mouth was swollen and it was
Mm.
bleeding and it was hurting and you're thinking about how you have daycare that's about to expire and things are, you're gotten riled up, then I didn't do my job the way I was supposed to. So it was the passion of taking the first tooth out in dental school. My name is Dr. Julia Jackson, and they call me Extraction Jackson. They call me
Extraction Jackson.
Extraction Jackson for a reason. I took out more teeth than anybody in my dental class. Every day I'd be in there, and they'd be like, well, don't you have some dentures to make? Or why don't you go see the kids? Or did you finish your requirements for root canals? Yes, was always the answer because I want to become an oral and maxillofacial surgeon. So it was kind of like a budding, brewing, uh, as you said, transformative, formative eruption of this is my God created purpose in life is to take teeth out. That's it. I take out teeth that can't be fixed, teeth that are moving, teeth that are not in good condition, teeth that are impacted, teeth that other people can't take out. They send the teeth to me. I take out teeth that maybe have a hook on them or teeth that are not going to come up on their own. I take out teeth that are bumping into other teeth. I take out teeth that are falling apart. The ones that other people go, that's not for me. Let's send them over here. So and I love it. I love it. Oh my! I'm sorry.
No, you're good. This is
That's
great.
hysterical.
I love it. And the challenge, and my assistant would be like, my assistants would say, why do we have to do this? And I say, because that's why they sent them to us. That's our job. Come on. Or not, like I said, it's not just the tooth, but you got to remember the patient who won't walk through the door, or the patient who's crying, or the grown man who comes in with his mother. And you're like, ma'am, can you sit in the waiting room? And he's like, you're not going to take my tooth out without my mom in the room. Okay. My response is, Has she ever taken teeth out before? Is she going to help? Like what part is she playing over here? So, you have to go with the flow. People who say things, I had someone the other day, he said, I don't like the dentist because I remember when I was a little kid, there
Yeah.
was a dentist who tried to take my tooth out and he had blood in his hair. And I was like, wow, what a like horrible thought about somebody that he remembered that was going to help him. And how do you see the blood in that person's hair? And it wasn't his blood, it was someone else's blood. So, you have to take into consideration the trauma. Older ladies, maybe someone who's
Wow.
90 and she only has two teeth in, and she's like, no one has ever made this easy for me, and so they don't want to go, or they're totally apprehensive. So, took the first tooth out, third year dental school. That's all it took. Okay. That's when you guys may be familiar. Have you been to New York City and you're on one of those horse and buggy carriages where the horses carrying the carriage, right? If you look very carefully at those horses, they have blinders on because New York is
Yes.
running around like traffic, right? And if you have the blinders on, then you can't be disturbed by the traffic, the noise, and such. My blinders were on. And that might be slightly a problem because I was so focused. I wasn't I wasn't going to be deterred from my path. And so I didn't get like, my friends would say, well, why don't we go to the mall? Why don't we get our nails done? Why don't we get a pager? Why don't we get a boyfriend? Did you kiss somebody? Mm-mm. I don't know any of that. None of it. None of it. So I finished dental school. And as I told everyone as loud as I could, I'm going to be an oral and maxillofacial surgeon, and they would try not to get me to go there. There was a program in Philadelphia for our, let's just say, slightly competitive rival called University of Penn. Now, I told you my mom is a lawyer, right? So she went to Penn Law School. Okay. So I'm leaving Temple, and I joke with my mom because law school is only 3 years. Dental school is 4 years. So we're slightly smarter. That's what I say, but she knows. So I said I want to go to Penn for they had some kind of like oh, I did a biomedical research at University of Penn. I was a research student. My research was on Drosophila and trying to change whether or not they would function in the day or the night. I had
So
some
these are
research.
flies, just so everybody
Oh yeah,
knows, little
sorry about that.
flies.
Fruit
Yes.
flies. Right, right. See,
Annoying little fruit flies.
exactly. See, Dr. Camille, you're on it. You got this here. I would sit in the lab and think, this is not for me. I cannot be in here with these bugs. This
I
is too
agree
much.
with you. I would not do fly research. Thank you.
Right, right. But coincidentally, all of my science projects, even in high school or such, were all animal related. I worked with snails. I worked with ants. I used to try to figure out, well, if you feed ants one food, will they make more the little tracks through the ant farm? If I give them like coffee or if I give them sugar, like how can I make them the most productive ants? I also did one with moths, or the moths attracted to different colored lights. So I had some like zoology and
Wow.
what's
I just
the
worked with mice.
mice. What's the word for when you study insects? Etymology,
Entomology?
entomology. Exact, Dr. Camille, you're all over this. Yes, you're right. You're right. You're right. So, um, I finally got out of dental school. I wanted to go to Penn for a 1 year internship because we only had two options. We had the option of doing a 4 year program, we had the option of doing a 6 year program, and we had the option of doing an internship. And at that point, I said, I would like to at least get my feet wet. I want to do an internship. Make a long story short, I did 2 years of internship in Brooklyn Hospital Center. Dr. Jonathan, you asked, have I had any kind of like challenges Um, when I'm an intern is when you're a resident, but you're not. Like you're like the bottom of the barrel.
Mhm.
And they would tell me to do this, do that, do that. And I'm talking 4 in the morning, 6 in the morning. You have an inebriated idiot who got punched in the jaw, and you know why his jaw is broken, because his mouth runs entirely too much, right? And he says mean, nasty things to people, and you're like, exactly, this is why, you fool. And so they would send me over there, little old me, right? Fix that. Fix it means that we would have to wire his jaw together. Each tooth, we have to put the wires between the calculus buildup of the nasty breath of this fool who is a complete jerk, okay? And the reason he got maybe kicked or punched in the mouth is because he's just angry individual. Well, I would try to find ways. I say, okay, let's give him Ativan. Ativan is like a light sedative. Let him sleep it off, and perhaps he'll be nicer. We'll see if he sleeps it off, right? Because when you're sticking the little tiny little wires in between each tooth, and then you have to wire the wires together so that they can't open their teeth, right? That way, we would be able to keep the jaw closed. That's a cast on a broken mandible. There's no other way to do it. Well, the
Ugh,
other way to do it is to
sounds
actually
absolutely
open it.
miserable.
Yeah. Well, the other way to do it, Dr. Camille, is that we would sedate him, and then we would put him to sleep. Dr. Camille, I got to tell you. So if you don't wire them shut, that's called a close reduction. So that there's nothing that requires any visibility, direct visibility of the fracture. Open reduction, you have to intubate the patient nasally, because usually if you go to the operating room, we're going to put the tube down your throat, right? But not if we're trying to fix the jaw. So the tube has to go through the nose. The tube is then kind of, let's just say, secured through the nose to the roof, to the forehead. And now we'll make an incision inside the mouth, open the gingiva so we can have direct visualization of the fracture. And then we put a little plate. The plate kind of looks like the chains on a bicycle, but the plate would sit on the mandible at the area where the fracture is. It usually has two holes for two screws, and then it will help reduce the fracture by closing the two pieces of movable bone.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's an option. It's an option when we have what we call a non-favorable fracture, like if it's broken and the two pieces are sprayed very wide open. Well, then we will have to harness them together. When it's a fracture where it's a favorable, where the two pieces are almost just still sitting right next to each other. Some colloquial expression, I heard Dr. Jonathan say colloquial the other day. A colloquial expression of is it a hairline fracture, or sometimes a patient will say, oh, it wasn't broken, it was fractured, or it wasn't broken, it was, I forget how the folks say it. And I'm like, that means it's broken. You
Yeah.
can't, if you have a dish and it was fractured, or if it's a dish that's broken, I forget what they say. It's not fractured, it's what the folks say. Like, they don't get it. But nonetheless, if it's just still close together, then we can just wire them shut. We
I
wire
see.
them shut from like 6 to 8 weeks. And that way we can allow for them to let the bone heal. They will have, there's a space in the back. Usually, if they don't have their wisdom teeth, or even way back there, they can get nourishment. They can put their lips on the straw, and the liquid will go to the back, and then they'll swallow it. Only reason we would ever open that is if somebody is well, we wouldn't do it if someone is a seizure risk,
Right.
or if they have other reasons that maybe they're like someone who doesn't like to be in closed spaces. We wouldn't try to make someone feel uncomfortable.
Right.
Every now and then we'd get a lady who'd say, can you wire my teeth shut for dietary reasons?
Oh my
Mm.
lord.
That's not a good
I
idea.
guess. I mean, thankfully that we have
Right.
the GLP-1s now. But I do want to kind of understand how you went from um, your educational journey into promoting your own business. So,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
you're right.
yes,
Tell us about that.
yes. I want to skip ahead. So I was an intern in after for 4 years of dental school, 2 years of intern. They
And that's
didn't pick me.
how you became
Oral
comfortable
surgery.
with the like we'll say interesting personas
Oh
or
yeah,
challenging patients, or was that your Philly experience too?
all of the above. Even high school, I was even in high school. It's like I was the new kid when I was in 10th grade, so I had to figure out that. And
Yeah.
sometimes girls can be real mean, and they'll say,
Oh
"Oh,
yeah.
you want my boyfriend?" I'm like, "I'm here to figure out how to read, folks. Just left that high school. I'm not looking at your man." But yeah, so 2 years internship in Brooklyn Hospital, and then 4 years of oral surgery. And I have like little tiny parts to, well, how did I buy my first property when I was in residency? Who gave me that encouragement to start real estate early. I have little stories of how I actually came out to California, and I wanted to work in a dental lab, like to do the crafts, the art, the paint the teeth, the actual technology part. And I had an interview, and then I left because they told me I was overqualified because I had a college degree. And I left, and then I got into dental school, and then they called me and they were like, "We reconsidered." And I'm like, "Too late, folks. I'm about to be a dentist now." So, I have little tiny parts to how did it get to be come to fruition. But I did finish the 4 years of oral surgery. So now I finished, I got out, I worked for 13 years, oral and maxillofacial surgery, on the grind, taking teeth out, sedating patients safely, waking them up, biopsies, tori reduction, implants, bone grafts, sinus lifts, everything we do. Mine was the bread and butter of oral surgery. I was an entrepreneur, and I would take patients to the OR, but I realized that I would come over with my little square. It's like a little merchant swiper. And before we would put them to sleep, I'd have them run their credit card so that we could get the money in the bank. Okay, Dr. Camille, this is a business. I had to be on my, as they say, hustle and grind. I used to wear a
Yep.
T-shirt. It said, "Every day I'm hustling," because that's what it was about. And the first time that the lady told me, "Well, I don't have my credit card. I didn't know I had to pay on the day of," I realized, that's I'm not going to work. It's not going to work that way. I have to find a way that is consistent and reliable. So perhaps that kind of entrepreneur part had to be adjusted. And so I was now full time in a Monday through Friday, every day oral and maxillofacial surgery practice. 8 to 5. It's a DSO. You guys will learn that one. DSO
Yes.
is
Oh, I
a
know DSOs. Yes.
organization. Okay, right? And they
Yes.
come like
These are
sneakers.
massive, sorry, for anybody who's listening, these are massive organizations. They're dental service organizations. They kind of act as the management for multiple different sites.
Just like sneakers, you can have a Nike kind, which takes over your entire practice. You
Yeah.
can have a Reebok kind, which keeps your name, but they do your management. You can
Yeah.
have K-Swiss, where it's called Heartland or Aspen or Clear
Yes.
Choice. And so you kind of like fall in line. So part of dentistry, what we learned back at Temple, is that dentists like autonomy. That's
Yeah.
why that's why it's just about making it pretty, is because dentists have really taken dentistry and kept it pure to just dental. That we even have our own dental insurance. We're not mastermind by medicine. We're not in the same kind of boat as some of the others who have kind of relinquished their autonomy. You both have glasses on. There used to be the ones where you can go to the mom and pop eye doctor. Now we have Vision Express. They've
Oh,
been
Costco.
yeah, you can go to Costco and get glasses, right? But dentistry is still trying to keep its autonomy. And then there was the DSO. And the DSO at this point, they actually have their own dental schools to micro engineer. We want these people to be dentists that work in our dental offices. So it's changing the flow of things. I worked in private practice for 10 years. And my job was to come in, take the teeth out, whatever my procedure was. Sometimes I didn't even know the schedule of the day. I walked in and the job got done, period, because that's how I move, right? And then I would go home and I got paid nicely. I would find ways to make sure that, well, in my opinion, every single tooth that we removed, we needed to graft, because grafting prepares the site for future implant placement. Well, grafting is actually a lucrative procedure, to tell you the truth. I'll be very honest with you. So if you graft every site, maybe it took $82 to take the tooth out, but now you made it a $2,082 procedure because you grafted it. So that was how the money part came into making sure that you were providing the utmost care to the patient. So you guaranteed, okay, well, you may not be thinking about having an implant now, but we're going to solidify and ensure that this site is primed and ready to go for future implant placement. And we won't even talk about the astronomical costs for implants in implant dentistry, but that's because dentists have made it so that it's not something that other people can change the cost of. Dentists have made implants the cost they are, and they are generating revenue, but they are also root replacements, which is a phenomenal opportunity for people to replace their tooth. Now, the way that they replace it is with a root replacement, and then you put the crown on top, and now you have something that looks nice, that can function, and it's aesthetically pleasing. We need to, you, Dr. Jonathan, talked about how important it is to keep teeth clean, but what you haven't twisted your mind to come up with is, well, why are we using the same tools for something that is not a tooth? Why are you brushing implants? Why are you using tools like this Cavitron, which splashes water around on gums and gingiva that have little fibers that hold a tooth in place, on something that's made out of titanium? You need to have the appropriate hygiene regimen, and the hygienists need to be aware of how can you properly keep things clean when we're not talking about teeth. So
yes,
Dr. Camille asked, where did the school come from? Here's where the school came from, okay? So after a while, when the general dentists send patients to us, I would sit there and I would think to myself, although yes, I'm called a specialist, but I'm not doing anything magnificent over here. These folks should be able to take the teeth out. They should be able to take the teeth out. They know how to put the crowns on. So why don't they know how to put the implants in? What's the disconnect here? And
or
if they're
to
going
care for them.
What's the disconnect here? It's like carpentry. If I'm going to drill a hole in the wall and I take the drill bit out, I'm going to have drywall on the bit. Well, then I can stick a bolt in there. You all should know how to do this. It's not complicated. So I started to think to myself, you know what? Why don't we teach general dentists how to place implants? Almost like, one of those light bulb moments. If you all are going to put the crowns on, you should know how to make sure that the root is solid, strong, and in good condition. So I didn't come up with this. I'm not taking any credit here. I'm just simply saying I used to go out to Arizona, and there was a, let's just call it another kind of institute, where they would take general dentists from all over the America, and they would teach them how to place implants on live patients. The thought there was that it was connected to a methamphetamine rehab clinic. And the rehab clinic wanted to change the way the people's thoughts were and take them off of drugs. Well, why don't we fix their teeth? So now we had these folks that needed, and methamphetamine folks. Yeah. I mean, that's the last thing they're doing is cleaning their teeth. I don't know how it gets that bad, but they needed every single tooth out. Well, we're going to remove the teeth. We need to replace the teeth. And so the dentist would learn how to do it. And they loved surgery as much as I did. And I was like, oh, this is it now. I know I found my folks. This is it. We're going to take teeth out all day. We're going to put implants in. They're going to make the crowns and the hybrids. And this is working. And then my husband would say, do you still have to go to Arizona? It's so far away. Why are you taking these trips out to Arizona? When can you do this at home? And hence, the International Implant Institute in Virginia has
Amazing.
erupted. We are here. Can I show it? I mean, I got
Yes.
the jacket. I'm ready. We have a program here in Manassas, Virginia. It's a 5-day program. I will take any dentist from any place on this planet. I've gotten dentists from Nigeria, from Kenya, from California, from Alabama, from Texas, from North Carolina, Virginia, and Maryland. I've served general dentists because I know that they can learn how to take the teeth out. That's the first part. You have to do atraumatic extractions. You can't be busting up stuff and then have a problem. But if you do, then you need to know how to graft it. That means to put the particulate matter or perhaps some type of collagen plug, place it into the space and prepare it for future implant placement. I give them models so that they can learn how to place the implants. And it's not just me. We have a multidisciplinary program because you guys, like you said, team approach. I completely agree with you. I have a periodontist. I have more than one oral surgeon. I have a prosthodontist. Prosthodontist is a dentist who makes dentures. So like a prosthesis is a fake arm. They're going to make the fake teeth that go on to the root replacement. We also have in our faculty, I have 9 folks on the faculty. I think I want to have 12 one day. We have a hygienist. Her name is Siobhan Healy. She talks about how important it is to know how to clean these parts and pieces that are not, biological. She was telling us just the other day in one of our courses called Pearls of Wisdom Weekend, because we get little nuggets of information, right? And she was saying that there's like this scare of, well, should we take the hybrid off? What happens? There's such a thing called screw fatigue. There's only so many times I can screw a screw. If I take the hybrid off, now have I weakened the ability for it to go back on and to compensate for its masticating forces? So I'm here with you. I totally agree. Not only is International Implant Institute a diverse faculty, but we are taking in a diverse community of general dentists. And sometimes here and there, I'm trying my best to get dental students, because like when I was at Temple Dental, would I have gone to a course so that I could learn, okay, well, you have to do the right treatment planning, the right CT scans, make sure that you have enough bone quality and quantity of bone. Where's the inferior alveolar nerve run? If it's going to be in tooth number 18, that one's too close to the nerve, graft it first. So I try to give them all the little bits of information that I can possibly think of to make sure that they at least feel empowered to do something that is a high yield procedure, because some of them are coming out with major debt or major debt from student loans, but high yield procedure to bring to the office. Don't refer out. Handle this, folks. Just handle it. Call me. I will help you. You can Facebook me. You want to ask me about, well, can we take this one out? And should we take that one out too? Order of operations. So I want them dentists. I call them the students, but sometimes folks don't realize that I actually mean dentists that have licenses in wherever state they are and have been practicing. Sometimes we'll get seasoned dentists who are ready to take the plunge into a new arena of implantology. A whole variety of people. I try to make sure that they know that at least we're here to help. That's the short story, Dr. Camille.
We recently interviewed Georgios Katsakis, who's associate dean at Rutgers, and he is a specialist in peri-implantology. And anyway, he's doing some phenomenal stuff, but I think you guys would pair up really well.
Tell me about Dr. Shikaki at Rutgers.
Yeah, Georgios Katsakis. I worked with him at University of Washington, and then he went down to UT, and he's at Rutgers as associate dean. But he is doing some really great work in peri-implantology. Trying to address the disease phenomenon that's coming up everywhere, just because there is such a dearth of information around cleaning and maintenance. And so he's really working hard to kind of move that forward with new innovations. I think he has some gossip around an FDA approval shortly, so something interesting coming up there. But yeah, I would love to get you guys in the same room, because I think that would be a really good move. Do you guys do any CME courses for kind of the broader educational landscape?
So bear with me, Dr. Camille.
Sorry, CE,
CME.
CEs.
Okay. Okay. So CE, right? That's the question. The
Yeah.
entire curriculum gives you 40 CE.
Oh,
Absolutely. So I'm
amazing.
an
Okay.
accredited institution through the through PACE, PACE. I'm pending my ADA CERP application. But yes, we provide CE for all participants for all courses that we are holding.
Are you educating RDH?
Hygienist. So my plan in my brain, I think I'm starting small, but I'm thinking big. Not only would I really like for the dental assistants to come in with their dentist so that they can see the armamentarium and they can see the parts, the pieces, the steps, so that when doc says we're going to be putting in a 3.8 by 12, the assistant is completely aware of what actually that means. It's not just numbers. But also, I would like the team approach where the hygienists have their own either lectures on their own or combined tutorials where we are working together. We can talk about cleaning teeth. Absolutely. Welcome all hygienists, women, men, all people who are there to make sure that we can maintain adequate implant health.
Well, if you need any educators in the space, let me know, because I'm happy to hook you up as well.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. You guys are terrific. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. What a platform you have. You're like, here, just talk to the world. Thank you all for this.
Oh, thank
Wonderful.
you. I love what you're doing. I'm excited for you. And I love your enthusiasm and your passion. It's infectious in the best way.
I'm here to help. Our tuition is only $2,000 for the 5 days. We have hotel accommodations close by. I pay for the transportation. I pay for the food. I'm
Wow.
trying to someone told me you're paying to teach them. I said, well, just get them to come in. Just
Yeah.
have them
Yeah.
come, and then they can learn something and then turn it around and help the people. We're here for the folks, the community. Make sure that people know that when they say that they want a implant, and sir, you need 6 of them. It's not a implant. I want them to be aware of what it means to have implants, or what it means to be aware of oral health care in general.
Yeah.
Last but not least, just recently I went out and visited Cancun so that we can actually have live patient procedures. I would like to take a group of people who are interested to travel with us to go to Cancun in May. I think it's 14, 15, 16. And then we can, and why I went first is because I don't want to just place them. I want to know who's the dentist who's going to put the crowns on, who's the dentist is going to be making sure that they have up care or upkeep, who's going to be I wanted to make sure that it was a program where we didn't just stop and go. We need to be able to help and serve, quite frankly. So I do look forward to making progress. I would love to help as many general dentists that are available. I try to say to associates, there's sometimes we'll have a dentist office that has multiple associates. Well, maybe that dentist doesn't have the time to stand over and show, the new dentist who was in the COVID era, who didn't know how to take the tooth out to begin with. Now we're going to try to put an implant in. Send that person to me. It will be worth their education. Implant
Yeah.
education is expensive. We try to make it reasonable. Not only will the student learn how to place the implant, how to restore the implant, how to graft the socket, but we also take a trip out to Washington, D.C., and we go to see the monuments and the Capitol and the statues. We go to a dental lab. So it's kind of like field trip with Dr. Jackson. I got the van. We
Amazing.
go out, we go to the van. Uh, One thing I want to just mention to you, Dr. Camille, is dentistry has evolved. There was a point in time where we would take an impression, send it to the lab would pour up a stone model, and now they would create a crown. Well, this day and age, we're taking an intraoral scan, we're making a digital workup, we're sending it, and now we come back and we can mill a crown in our own office. So that lab that we take them to, we show them both paths, because if I am teaching someone from Nigeria, maybe they're still taking the impressions, but I
Right.
want to show them cutting edge technologies. Or maybe if I am taking someone who's from Maryland and they know about cutting edge technologies, they just want to know, can they do it in their own office? So I try to broaden everyone's perspective and everyone's ability to understand, okay, well, this is dentistry in 2024. And then last but not least, every student receives CPR. So we have a whole Thursday where we do ACLS, PLS, which is PALS, that's a pediatric advanced life support, cardiac advanced life support, and basic life support. And our International Implant Institute is located in the oral surgeon's office. So on Friday, now you get to put everything together. I taught them how to do sutures. They go, oh, he's using a suture. Yes, he's using a suture. And did you see how he knotted it? Did you see that you put the knot away from the wound? Did you see that now the area is covered and protected with a membrane? So they see, we teach them how to put the IV in. Some of them don't even know how you get an IV. It's not by sight, it's by feel. Because if you're back with this, nowadays people have something called a sleeve, which is a tattoo that goes all the way up their arm. How are you going to put an IV in if there's a sleeve there? So we try to teach them everything and then put it together for Friday. And it's direct observation of the procedures here in Manassas, Virginia. So that's
Very
the
cool.
5-day course. We do have some weekend courses. We're working it out. Have you guys had a chance to find us on our website? INTLANTINSTITUTE.com. That's internationalimplantinstitute.com. You can
I
see
did take
all.
a peek myself. I did see your course that starts 11/11, which is my birthday.
Oh, my mom's birthday is 11/10. You and her, two
Oh,
Scorpios,
interesting.
two Penn graduates. Oh boy, you get along, two peas in a pod. That's great. That's great. I won't forget that, Dr. Camille. I might even call you and say happy birthday.
Oh,
Oh my God, yes.
No, I'm that kind of person. A little strange. Yeah.
I
no,
welcome it.
this
I
Happy
mean,
birthday.
it's just I'll make sure to get all that contact alignment because I think we have a lot of synergy there. So
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
it's a
Dr.
passion
Johnson.
project of mine just because, sorry, implantitis is such a huge issue and we really need to nip it in the bud. So,
Yes. Dr. Camille, my philosophy is that we don't try to fix a failing implant. We just leave it alone until you come in with it in your hand. Then we can start from the beginning. Because you
well,
cannot graft. Technically, you can't graft around an implant. It doesn't have a blood supply. So you're sticking some stuff over there and you're disrupting the already established, maybe it might be compromised circumstance, but you will disrupt the already established blood supply. I just came back from Florida to Orlando for the American Association of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgeons. So all the oral surgeons, I think we have maybe about 6,000 at this point in the whole country. Um, we had a conference in Orlando, and the newest discussion amongst my colleagues is that if first of all, we're not treating x-rays. So if there's bone loss, okay, thanks for letting me know. But if you go around the tooth, you can do some probing as long as there's no bleeding on probing. And if there's bleeding on probing, it has to be 2 or 3 visits that you really take into this consideration that now you're going to try to undo something that this guy was eating with yesterday. He was chewing with it. It was solid. It looked funny on the x-ray only because you had the x-ray to look at. But quite frankly, why would you try to like upset the apple cart? And don't forget that like the original problem was that he lost the tooth to begin with. So go easy on him. Let him keep his implant until he comes
Well,
in
no,
with
I just around, making sure that we're cleaning it gently and not causing more issue, but also just trying to address the inflammation so that we can hopefully repair. There's some school of thought in the soft tissue realm of, you get 3 chances to curb that inflammation cycle before it becomes this chronic issue and that we will eventually lose that. So,
mm-hmm.
getting in there and trying to correct that before it transitions to this chronic unhealable wound, I think is an
Mm-hmm.
important aspect of that treatment program. But yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Siobhan just came to the office or to the course, and she handed out this fancy cleaner. So this double-ended cleaner says implant and perio care. So the one side you put it in and it will clean the palate, and then you flip it around and the other side will clean the buccal aspect. But still, her point was, well, why are we using a brush on titanium? And so her idea and philosophy, which I totally agree with, is that perhaps flushing with air and water would be
Yes,
a much better approach to trying to
agreed.
brush something or cleanse the surface, because there's also the idea that you don't really want to affect the surface of the implant.
This is
um,
where I feel like you and Katsaki's have a real solid alignment.
I just, to be very honest with you, I place them, um, and I kind of just think to myself that I did the best I could with placements, orientation. Is it restorable? But I do see that with the International Implant Institute, we're taking it to the next level, and we are talking about maintenance. And then even after that is called therapy if necessary.
Right.
So I'm learning. I'm a lifelong learner as
Me
well.
too.
And I see that that's all I really wanted, was just a think tank, a place where we could all
Yep.
come together, and come up with ideas and foster positive environments of education and creative thinking. Sometimes, I have a little topic. It's called thinking outside of the socket instead of outside of the box.
Nice. I love that.
Right? So, I try to, I just, I wish in my heart that Temple University School of Dentistry was a place that was loving and caring. And so that's what I'm trying to make. I'm trying to make a dental school that's an environment that I would have wanted to be in.
Yeah.
That's where I feel it is. And that's what happens. The camaraderie, when we get someone from Nigeria talking to someone from California, and they're like, "Oh, really? You had this problem? What did you do about that tooth?" And, "Well,
I
check
love
out
that.
this
Yes.
x-ray with me." Very good networking, very I didn't realize how people start to click when you're together for a while. You're eating the similar food, you're drinking the same kind of water, you're talking the same talk. It's almost like camp or these kind of environments where people mesh. It might be short periods because we do carry it on with mentorship. I have everyone that's been a student comes together and we keep that momentum going. We may have something like a retreat or symposium in the future, but just those few days of brainstorming. And Dr. Anarobi, the prosthodontist, he's one of the co-founders. He says he'll make the students come up and write a presentation. Nobody expects that. We give them articles to read, and like Monday night, Tuesday morning, they have to present. We give them encouragements, like a book maybe he wrote, a book maybe I wrote, or some loops. Some people wear loops. So we try to make sure that we're stimulating conversation and education at all periods of the 5-day training. We love it. You gotta love
That's
it.
so important. I love it too.
Thanks. You
I
should
love what
come
you're
and
doing.
talk with us. We would love to hear your mind open up about the mouse biology of a mouse and bacteria. Absolutely.
Anytime you invite me, I will be there. I'm not that far away.
Don't forget. Don't forget you said
Well, first, like, talk about a story of perseverance you shared, right?
that.
Um,
Okay.
at the beginning. And as someone who comes from a family of like engineers and mathematicians, I found it particularly fascinating when when you mentioned your dad being an electrical engineer and your mom more on the law and Jed's side, and their potential influence on dental school versus say Penn. Like, that wasn't surprising, but I do think the applications of both of those disciplines and realms, I think, have been, from my observations, very formative to the creation of the International Implant Institute and the work and services you're providing the dental and oral care community, right? Because it's as technical as oral surgery may be, right? And an amount of training you win, like, it's great to hear that you haven't lost sight of like the person at the end of the day
Mhm.
and helping them go through what could be a very traumatic or difficult experience. And I think it's very clear that your passion and enthusiasm also plays a key role in probably your not only your clients but also like your colleagues and the people that work with you to have the confidence that they're going to have the best care. So I just wanted to like acknowledge that
Thank
from
you.
your story, and I think that's fantastic. Are there any like books, poetry, or
Mm.
other forms of media today that you're currently consuming, and if those things have an
Mm.
impact on your day to day?
That's such a good question. I always ask people what books they're reading too, I haven't done this yet, but I actually wrote a book, okay? It's called How to Become the First Practicing Female African American Oral and Maxillofacial Surgeon in both the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the Commonwealth of Virginia. I am
Wow.
actually the only oral surgeon that's a woman in the whole state of Virginia
That's
Wow.
amazing.
and the whole state of Pennsylvania when I was in Pennsylvania. So it's called
Wow.
Training Ivy. It's on Amazon. I'm not the best writer. It's big print. I did the best I could. So that's my book.
Very
This one
cool.
I just finished. Terrific. It's called Burn the Boats. It's a philosophy. It's a war philosophy that if you're going out to conquer the world, you have to burn the boats because you're not going back. You're only going forward. And I love the idea that, no holds barred, go forward without any doubt. Keep going. This one was good. This one was new. I'm not Steve Harvey fan, but I learned some stuff. Okay, I don't even know how I got this. Maybe somebody else referenced it, but it was good. And it's not the one think like a man, act like a woman. It's completely different. And I was like, not bad. He had some stories in there that resonated. I said, right on, Steve. Keep going. Keep doing your thing. The other one was The Magic of Thinking Big.
Hmm.
Not bad. And this one was really good. Never Split the Difference. This one was good because it's from a FBI negotiator. And when you are negotiating with terrorists and they have 5 hostages, you cannot agree that you're going to let 2 of them die and 3 of them need to come. So you have to find a way to negotiate that all of them are going to come and you're going to save all of them. And it really made me think of the perspectives with the patients that
Mhm.
if you are going to you have to let the patient know that you're doing something for them and for their benefit. They come in all kind of like, well, because some people may have hurt them, some people may have
Yeah.
stolen from them, with regards to the cost of the procedure. So they're
Right.
already coming in slightly hostile, right? So you have to make it so that they understand that you have best intentions. So how do you really get a terrorist to give you all 5 people and make it so that they know that it's for their benefit that you are helping them? So those are my 5. This one is a little strange, but I liked it.
No, I'm genuinely intrigued.
That's all I got. I'm sorry that you have to go, Dr. Camille. Very nice to meet you there.
Likewise, so lovely. Thank you so much for coming on, joining us at Let's Get Oral. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.